Hello, and welcome to Marathon Swim Stories, where we explore the human side of the superhuman feats of endurance swimmers and those who support them. I'm marathon swimmer and coach Shannon Keegan. Today I spoke with Capetonian Ironman, marathon, and ice swimmer Sam Whelpton. Sam's self-proclaimed stubbornness and sense of adventure has taken her on a wild ride from triathlon to the English Channel. And despite an aversion to cold, Sam has completed several ice kilometers. At the end of the day, Sam reminds us how great it feels to swim for a cause. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome, Sam. Thank you for being my guest today. Tell us, what's your story?
Wow, thank you for having me, Shannon. It's an honor to be able to chat with you. And wow, what's my story? That's such a big thing. Like, no pressure to answer that, right?
Right. We've got all day.
I suppose you can say that I've always grown up in and around water. Both my parents loved being in the sea. I mean, my mom swam until she was 8 months pregnant with me. So she swam in the ocean with me, and I just kind of grew up on the beach, traveling around, loved water. But I hadn't started competitive swimming until high school, I think grade 7 or 8. And it was nice. I loved the competitive swimming and the training parts and the structure, but my open water career basically started when we moved to Cape Town again, and I started training for triathlon. So that's kind of how I got into open water swimming. But I started with a wetsuit because coming from Joburg, you used to warmer water and pool temperatures of comfortable 22 plus. The gym pool's like 26 degrees. I'm not sure what that is Fahrenheit. And you get to the ocean in Cape Town and you're lucky if it's 14. So naturally everyone gets a wetsuit. And to be honest, I never felt 100% comfortable in a wetsuit. There was always something off, like either you chafing from it or you feel almost disconnected from the water, if I can put it like that.
Yeah.
And also because I'm naturally buoyant, it always felt like I'm swimming on top of the water as opposed to inside the water. So I just always hated it. And I remember this day, it was the 1st of January, 2015, I think, 16. And it was the New Year's Day swim. It's a mile swim at Clifton Beach, and it was sunny and there was no wind and the sea looked beautiful. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to try this swim without a wetsuit. And I took the wetsuit off. I left it at home, got in the car, drove to the swim, and just did it and loved it and never ever looked back into a wetsuit. To be honest, I did Ironman in 2017, and I was the only athlete at Ironman to not wear a wetsuit. I remember standing in transition and people are like, oh boy, you've forgotten something major. Like they all panicking for me. I'm like, no, actually, I'm good.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's good. It's hard to stick to your guns. And I did a little triathlon myself, and everyone around you's in a wetsuit. People are like, oh, but it makes you faster. And you're like, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it. And besides, what you gain in the little triathlon swim, it's not even worth it.
Right, exactly. It's too long. All the biking and running, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So when did you start swimming longer distances in open water? So you were a triathlon first, it sounds like.
So I initially did a triathlon, and then I always wanted to do Robben Island. Like Robben Island's like, you're not an open water swimmer in Cape Town if you haven't done Robben Island. It's a 7.5 kilometer swim. And the water is usually between 11 degrees to, if you're lucky, 16. And I always wanted to do it. And yeah, I did Robben Island and I loved it. And then I think my next long swim or marathon swim after, because Robben Island's not really a marathon, it's 7.5 kilometers, so you can't really classify that. I did a 10-kilometer swim from it's a shore along the shore in basically from the Milnerton Lighthouse to Big Bay. And I know I'm explaining all these things to you, but you have no idea where they are. It's just a coastal.
Somebody does. Yeah.
And the water was 10 degrees.
Oh,
and I impressed myself that day. I was one of 5 people to have finished that swim. 3 people wore wetsuits. So I was very impressed with that swim. Yeah. And then after that, it was a couple of months and I came across this advert of Mad Swimmer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the madswimmer.com.
Yeah.
They do crazy swims and all the funds, all the proceeds go to charities and children's charities. So I signed up for the swim from Zanzibar to Tanzania. Oh, cool. And that was my first proper swim. It was 32 kilometers. We started somewhere on a sandbank off Zanzibar and we swam basically to Tanzania, which is in Africa. And it was just mind-blowing.
Wow.
I was hooked after that.
Yeah. What was it? How did it feel when you finished that?
It was, I think the hardest part was the last 4Ks, because you're near the end, but it's just not the end. You're so close, but so far still. And the water temperature actually increased to almost uncomfortable, unbearable. We had surf chop, current in our face, and lots of jellies. Oh. But I think the thing about Mad Swimmer is because you're not doing a solo swim, you're doing a group. There's a group of you, and often it's like a handful of people who are doing the solo swim and then a bunch of relay guys. So the bunch of relay guys come and they jump in and everyone finishes together. So you get out of that swim and like everyone's there celebrating and you've made like this amazing achievement and you've done it all for a great cause. And that feeling is just like amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were hooked.
I was just hooked on that. Yeah. I think I've done like 4 or 5 after that.
Yeah. Yeah. What was next?
I think Zanzibar. Then we did Lake Malawi, which was incredible. Then we swam the length of the Bazaruta Island in Mozambique. And after that, we attempted, they called it the Great Shark Swim.
Just to scare people away.
Which is probably not a great name
right.
for a swim. But in theory, it sounded great, but it didn't work out amazingly because the theory was to catch this massive ocean current that's a few kilometers offshore on the Durban side of South Africa. And we never got this current. I got in, we did the first kilometer and I saw the time and I knew we're not in the current. This is just going to be a normal swim, 32 Ks, and that's going to be that.
No assist.
It wasn't zero assistance. And at the end, we ended up swimming into a nest or network of Portuguese man-of-war blue bottles.
Oh my gosh.
And I was stung, everyone was stung. I had to be medicated.
Oh no.
It was horrible. But yeah, what a story to be able to tell.
I guess so.
The great blue bottle swim, to be honest.
Right. Oh, that's funny. So somebody
so funny. They had an oceanographer on board and all these shark experts, and the lady on board, she was on like this vessel, support vessel, making sure we try hit the current or searching for this current. And then I get on board and I need like to be injected for this blue bottle sting that I'm really reacting to. And she's like, oh, I'm so relieved you found the blue bottles. Because that means you're in the current. I'm like, lady, how do you think you can swim in this blue bottle current of yours? So, yeah.
So you didn't finish that one. You had to be, or did you get back in
10 hours? And we managed to do 30 something kilometers, but yeah, we didn't get anywhere near to the distance we wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And somebody, I was talking to Dean Summers last week. He was talking about blue bottles in Australia. So that's a Southern Hemisphere phenomena, the blue bottles.
Yeah. It's amazing how if you're just swimming in a little bit warmer water, there's always blue bottles.
Yuck.
It's
Sounds
almost, they're horrible. Especially my worst fear.
The blue bottles are your worst fear.
Yeah.
Understandably, if you have to be medicated afterwards, what was your reaction like? What was like, how
So
did you?
I was stung on my face, and the blue bottle tentacles actually stick to the sunscreen that you put on. So they got stung on my face and under my armpit and close to my neck here. So I think it was just really tight chest, tight throat. My voice started sounding like a man's voice. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I can swim. And I actually got out on the boat, and I was tempted to jump back in. Like I refused to take off my cap and goggles. I'm like, and the doctor's like, Sam, you're not getting back in. I'm like, you don't understand. I have to get off this boat because it was quite rocky and I was feeling seasick. He's like, I have to watch you. Like, I have to get off this boat right now. So we managed to get off this rocky boat onto a more stable rubber deck. But yeah, it wasn't 20 minutes and all the swimmers were pulled out, all of them.
Oh
all
my
reacting
gosh.
badly to the blue bottle stings. Yeah, it was just possible.
Wow. Were they prepared to have that many people?
Not everyone reacted as bad, but we all had pretty cool scars the next day.
Yeah, I bet. How long did those scars last?
Oh, depends. I think I had for about 5 or 6 days.
Wow.
You put some ointment on them and they luckily heal well. But
yeah,
I've had friends who've done swims in other places who had actual proper scarring and still have it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, blue bottles, something, no warm water in the Southern Hemisphere. I gotta put that down for me.
Apparently the best thing for blue bottles is alcohol. So everyone thinks that it was alcohol and vinegar. So vinegar you put on jellyfish and blue bottles you put alcohol, but we were putting vinegar on the blue bottles and it just actually makes them fire even more. So man. Don't do that.
Okay. So some vodka or something, or rubbing alcohol.
I'm thinking of hand sanitizer now these days. I'm sure that will work.
Oh yeah, good call. Good one. Okay, all right. So you got out of the great blue bottle swim, and you decided I still want to do marathons. Is that what happened?
Can you believe that? Yeah, it was. I think it's the adventure side of it that gets me. The adventure, the lifestyle, the travel, and the people. The people are just, you just meet them and you know that these are my people. Like you just know them.
Yeah, because they also are attracted to the same things, right? The travel,
exactly.
and even the hardships, right? There's something. Yeah. There's like when you know somebody is gonna sign up for, some jellyfish or whatever, you're like, okay, I get you.
Yeah, you just get each other. It's amazing, actually.
That's awesome. So what was next after the great blue bottle swim? We're just gonna call it that.
I think the next big thing I did was probably the channel. Actually, I did Ironman first. I did Ironman and then I went and did the channel the next year. And wow, the channel.
Tell us.
I must say, the channel is probably the swim that I put the most work for. I mean, you spend all that money and you get a slot and then you realize, okay, well, this is real. I need to do a 6-hour qualifier. So I ended up doing a 6-hour, 8-hour, 10-hour night swims, cold swims. And I think the channel was actually training for the channel was the first year where I actually trained throughout winter in an outdoor unheated pool.
Wow.
That was hard. That was really hard. I just realized that training in the warm gym pool wasn't doing me any favors. It is almost like a massive shock and adjustment every time you go from 26, 27-degree gym pool, and then the aqua ladies still complain that it's too cold.
Right.
And going into the ocean, it's 14 and you just feel off. So I just had to actually train in colder water. And the Sea Point Pavilion is, don't get me wrong, it's the most beautiful pool in South Africa, but the water temperature goes to 13 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
And then the ambient temperature is super cold with no sun and it's raining.
Yeah.
So yeah, that really toughened me up properly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess for for Americans, that's 55, which is super chilly.
Yeah, sorry, I should probably like translated it to Fahrenheit.
I need to get a chart and just have it next to me, because
Yes.
it comes up every time I'm talking. And it's, and the population in the US, relative to the world, like most people know what you're saying when you say C, and some people can do it in their head. I need to work on doing it in my head. But yeah, so that was a long winter of training, and but you were able to have an outdoor facility that's open all year, that's not heated, so that's kind of a bonus.
Very fortunate, because I know lots of big pools in South Africa, especially Durban and other pools in Pretoria, tend to close because it's not worth operating for the handful of crazy idiots that are going to swim when it's raining outside.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good that you had that. So how did it go? You said it's the most work you've ever put into a swim, money-wise, training-wise, the long night swims, all that. How did it go?
All of that. And you know what? I think because I had I created such tough training conditions for myself, I actually got the unicorn day in the channel. I had beautiful flat water. I had a big tidal change, but I mean, I just couldn't believe my luck. I started in, I think, 14 degrees Celsius and I ended in 18. So the toughest part for me was actually the first 3 hours. And I was mentally preparing for having the toughest part at the end.
Yeah.
And I started at 2:00 in the morning and I got into a nice rhythm, but then I really started struggling with my hip flexors. They just locked me and they just wouldn't release.
Yep.
And I had some medication on the boat, and I thought I'd be having that like my 10th, 11th, 12th hour, not the first, second hour. Sam, how are you going to do the channel if you're having Mipronol at like the second hour? But luckily my crew just stepped it up. They noticed that I was dropping my pace. I was playing with my body position, bending my knees, trying to like extend my back more, dropping my chest. I was just doing everything possible and it just wouldn't work. And eventually I think the pain meds kind of kicked in.
Yeah.
And I was able to pull through. And after that, it was just smooth sailing.
Wonderful. How did that feel to finish that one?
I think finishing the channel is probably the most anticlimactic thing you can do.
You're not the first person to say this. I love that we're getting this on record.
You swim your heart out that last few kilometers to hit the cap. And I remember one of my friends saying, Karen Polferman, he's a Ocean 7 swimmer. I think he's one of our best friends. He's got one left to be an Ocean 7 swimmer. And he told me, just before I left to the channel, he's like, Sam, only the great swimmers ever hit that cap. And if you know Kyron, that is a typical thing he'll say to you just to get under your skin. And I just remember swimming and hitting the cap and thinking, I have to hit this cap. I have to hit this cap because I want to go home and tell Kyron. And you get there and it's like, okay, yay, I'm a channel swimmer, I hit the cap, and there's no one there.
Right.
But the moment is still, I think the moment is so big that it almost feels a little bit surreal. And you swim back to the boat and obviously your crew are super happy, and then the social media stuff comes, and then you see your WhatsApp group and everyone's been following your tracker, and then it's obviously amazing. But that initial moment on the cap is like, okay, let me look for some pebbles. It's just you and your little pebbles and swim back to the boat.
Yeah. Yeah, the marathon swimming's not for people looking for fanfare and celebration and
Exactly. It's such a personal thing, and it's almost something that no one can take away from you. It's yeah, it's such a personal achievement, and I don't think anyone else can understand it except for someone else who's done it.
yeah. I tell my clients that like when they're just getting started with marathon swimming, I was like, this is, I mean, it's not a race, you know, it's not
Yeah,
comparable to other events that you're gonna like. This is more like having a baby or getting married. Like this is something you're gonna look back on and be like, remember that time
yeah,
that I swam the channel? Like it's
exactly.
a life event. It's a big deal.
And it's totally not about the time.
No,
It's almost completely irrelevant what your time was. No one cares what your time was.
right?
You
Yeah,
finished or you didn't finish, and when are you going to try again, kind of thing.
right.
I
Yeah.
think that's the beauty of it. And it's not necessarily the fastest swimmers that have a faster channel time. It's almost like the luck of the draw, and you have to play the cards that you are dealt on the day.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend who was training for the channel with me, and he was 62 years old, and he had a hip replacement 6 months before he did the channel.
Wow.
And in a pool, theoretically, I would lap him because he's a little bit slower. But he did a 10-hour, 2-minute channel because he just swam straight across. There was no title change. He had the absolute perkiest unicorn day.
Yeah.
And it's almost like someone put a lane rope across the channel for him.
That's amazing.
Obviously, you're happy for him, but it just completely confirms the fact that it's not about the swimmer's speed and the
Right.
time. It's completely about the conditions and what you make of them.
Right. And I think it's a big, I was explaining this to some people the other day too, like it's a big step to not look at it as a race anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to talk about it. It's like we're going beyond. We're going beyond the race, beyond the competition. You're going
above the race now.
Yeah, yes, that's right. We're going up. but where can you go, right? Where could, I don't know. Like it's really fulfilling to me though, because it becomes a personal achievement. And like I said, it's something you can look back on that you did, and you get to carry that with you the rest of your life.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter if how fast you were or how.
No, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. Yes. Very cool. So what was after the channel?
Oh, so
what year was that?
I did the channel in 2018.
Okay, and you said you started like in 2016, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And you just went for it.
I'm kind of still a newbie.
It's all the rage these days. That's funny.
So, to be honest, I haven't done a proper channel swim again after the channel. I mean,
you did it. Yeah, you're like done.
No, of course I want more, as channel swimmers. There's always the next challenge, the next goal, the next thing that motivates you to train, I suppose. I was meant to do 20 bridges last year, but obviously that got cancelled. So 20 bridges for me is now on the 23rd of August this year.
Awesome. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Say it out loud because I'm scared COVID interferes with my plans again.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I've been eyeing False Bay. So False Bay is a local swim we have, and to date, 7 people have done it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of on my radar, but yeah, this year has just been, because of lockdown and training and stuff, there was great weather windows, but I wasn't ready. And then when I was ready, I either didn't have a pilot, or the wind came up, or the wind was in the wrong direction. And then I had the perfect day, and I found out the water temperature was 11. So I was like, no, let's be real, Sam. 11's not going to cut it. So, I mean, it's on my backyard. I can always do it. So I kind of just want to be ready whenever the weather allows me to do it.
Yeah. So how has the pandemic been for you in South Africa?
Oh man, I think South Africa probably had one of the hardest initial lockdowns. obviously other countries had it bad later on, but we weren't allowed to leave our house for 5 or 6 weeks. Like,
Wow.
we were only allowed to go shopping for essentials. We weren't allowed to order anything online. We can do no shopping online, only
Wow.
essential things. So luckily for me, I have an indoor bike. And 2 days before lockdown started, we bought these bungee cords and we have a home pool. So we bought these bungee cords and like makeshift body belts and tied ourselves to the wall. And it's just awful. Like, you just can't. I think I managed a couple of minutes, maybe a handful of times, and I absolutely hated it. So it was kind of, lockdown was the time to do indoor cycling and a little bit of home gym. I mean, we had weights made from 5-liter water bottles and did a lot of planking and push-ups and that sort of thing to stay sane.
Yeah.
I remember seeing friends on Strava do like runs in their driveway, and I told my friends, I'm like, I'm never going to do that. If I do that, please send help, because then I've officially lost my shit. And oh God, Shannon, it wasn't like 10 days and I was doing 5Ks in the driveway.
Wow, that's impressive. You'd rather do that than a tethered swim, yeah?
I would rather do that than a tethered swim.
Huh.
I promise you, the tethered swim is not good for you. You shouldn't attempt that. It should just be banned. Changes your stroke, you swallow a lot of water, you just get so bored. No.
Mm-hmm. I have an endless pool, and I had to have like a reckoning with myself and swimming in it last year, because I canceled everything even though I could have swam, and then long story about the pool, but basically I started just using it like solely for technique work.
Yes.
and touching the water, like basically maxed out at like 30 minutes. But last year I was like, I've got a pool. Like I gotta, like, yes, I get bored, you know what? But you get bored when you're marathon swimming too. So I've had to just embrace it.
An infinity pool is completely different because the current is actually created. So it's almost like your arm moving through water. Whereas a tethered swim, the water is just bouncing around you. There's created by your moving through the water. It's just terrible for your stroke. It hurts your back. Infinity pool, like, that would be a number one thing to have.
Man, okay. So it was hard. You were running in your driveway. When were you guys able to kind of come out of that? How did the coming out of the lockdown go for you? Were you able to swim again?
So we were phased into it quite strictly also. We were allowed to then, after the 6 weeks of not leaving your house, we were allowed to exercise within, I think, a 10-kilometer radius of our house between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. So for 3 hours a day, you can go outside, and it was chaos.
I was going to say, is everybody outside?
Everyone went outside. Like, even people who never walked their dogs were walking their dogs. It was chaos. I had to run in the road because there were too many people on the sidewalk.
Wow.
Luckily, we could get out, but we still weren't allowed to swim. All the pools and beaches were completely off bounds, and it's quite hard because we live literally 450 meters from the beach.
Oh, man.
We can see it. We can't touch it.
Oh, geez, that's hard.
It was hard, and I must say, it was almost like completely starting over again. I know from triathlon that the swimming fitness is the fitness you lose the fastest. Luckily, you also gain it the quickest, but the acclimatizing to the cold is been real. I mean, going from not doing any cold water swims to trying again has just really been tough. You get in the water and it's like you've forgotten how to swim. I don't even know if I can swim. I'll drown.
Man, wow. Okay, but you guys are in a better place now?
We are in a better place. The pools are open, the beaches are open, everything's basically back to normal. We don't have any real restrictions anymore. We're just dreading the third wave. The only terrible thing is that we're not vaccinating it. So only the healthcare workers have been vaccinated, and in true African style, we just, the money's either lost, stolen, not allocated properly, and so we're hoping to be vaccinated soon, but I won't hold my breath.
Yeah. But you were able to travel. Tell us about your recent trip.
So literally the only place we as South Africans could go to without quarantining is the Maldives. And
twist my arm.
It was just amazing. The place, the location, the sea life, the water temperature is so good. It was a little bit warm. I mean, we swam around the island 3 times in our week stay there. It's like a 2.5K swim, but the water is 30 degrees.
Wow. So 30, you said?
30 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
So what is that in Fahrenheit?
Let's see what we got. 86. Yeah, that's
really
hot.
That's hot. It's hot.
So it was a good thing it was only 2K around the island. Otherwise, you would have.
You do it so slowly because, I mean, you stop. Oh, look, there's a fish, and here's another one, and look at that clam, and whatever. But it just actually makes you feel a little bit sluggish. So you take it easy. But it's amazing, like the sea life, and you can go swimming by yourself, and you don't have to worry about losing feeling in your face or your fingers. Or being hypothermic, or I shiver properly after every swim I do. I think I shiver more than the average person, and it's just great to do a swim where you can just relax and not have to move to keep warm. It was just it was amazing. And yeah, we try to do like an excursion every day. So a boat will take you out to a location, and you'll either go looking for a manta ray or whale shark or turtles. And it's so weird because the morning we were meant, or the day we were meant to go look on the turtle excursion, I actually just went snorkeling outside our little beach villa or water villa, and I came across 2 turtles, and I had the most amazing swim at this turtle. And we still went on the excursion and saw more turtles, which was great. And then the next day we went on a whale shark excursion and saw a manta ray, and we went on a manta ray excursion and saw a whale shark.
They're all there.
It was just incredible. And we had done, Ram and I had been talking about doing a freediving course for ages, and we ended up doing a freediving course, I think early December. And that's just changed the game, like to just control your breathing and to be able to trust yourself to just hold your breath and go down and stay there for a few seconds or as long as you can. I just managed to get the most incredible pictures.
Wow.
So yeah, super, super lucky.
Very cool. Very cool. And now that you're back, anything that you're training for? You guys are going into winter though, so what's your winter gonna look like?
We got back, and this morning I had a 4.7 kilometer session, and I got out after 3Ks because I was shivering. The water was 17 degrees in the pool, and it's just a complete shock because 10 days ago it was still 22, which is my favorite temperature, and now it's 17 and unfrozen. But yeah, Manhattan is, I think, 15 or 14 weeks away. So we're training for Manhattan now.
Yeah. All right. Tell us a little bit about, since you've done Ironman and you've run marathons too and swam marathons, how do you kind of compare and contrast those experiences between those different sports?
I think you are much more isolated in a swim than you are in a run or a cycle. I mean, on the run in Ironman, you got so many people cheering you on. There's crowds of people, there's supporters, everyone's just giving you food and, giving you motivation, and you can hear everything, you can see everything, you're all there. Whereas in a swim, it's almost like your boat and the water and you. And you can't just talk to them wherever you want. You can't,
Hey.
you can barely see them.
Right.
So I think in a swim, kind of your senses take over, like how you're feeling internally. So you focus much more on what you're thinking, how you're feeling. And I tend to actually focus a lot on what my boat crew is doing. So there's a rule in Africa, I'm not sure about the States, that the boatmen or the people on the boat may never point at stuff, because we have sharks in our waters, and they point and you just see them all panic, and it's like, oh my God, what have they seen? What is it? What's happening? Is it a whale? Is it a shark? Is it another boat? Or are they just pointing at another person? Or what's happening? So I think your boat crew and their behavior depend a lot on your kind of psyche and what you're thinking and your thought process. So it's actually very interesting. Yeah, you rely a lot on visual stimuli as opposed to, people talking to you. And I also swim with earplugs.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm kind of deaf and just listen to the bubbles. It's almost like a therapeutic thing, like just drowns out all the noise. And yeah.
How do you get so if you're kind of, I don't know, which do you prefer? Like that kind of external motivation and like a big Ironman run, or like the solitude in a marathon swim?
I think I like them both equally. I can't say that I prefer to be by myself all the time, and I can't say I like people shouting my name and saying go go go, you're almost finished all the time either. Because I mean, the worst thing you can tell someone doing a run of Ironman is you're almost there, because you're not almost there. So it's hard because they're very different. I mean, obviously us open water swimmers love the water and being by ourselves and lost in our own thoughts and in the zone. And obviously that's our favorite place to be. So, but it is nice and refreshing to go for a run every now and again and have people motivate you, and you can actually hear them and talk back.
Yeah. Can you tell us about what swim you're the most proud of?
Actually thought about that, and it's just natural to say the English Channel, because in Cape Town, if you tell people you've done English Channel, they're like, oh, wow, you've done the English Channel. It's like, dude, like thousands of other people have done it. But I think I'm the most proud of that, because I know what I put in and what I was going through in my life at the time, and I made it through, and I managed to do a good channel. And yeah, I think it's definitely the channel. But then there's other swims that I'm really proud of, like doing the 6 hours qualifying swim, where I had other swimmers there and I arrived late. So by the time I got in the water, they'd already done 4 hours. And they finished, they were on the houseboat having beers and having a barbecue. And here's Sam all by herself in the ocean. And I remember telling the boat to just go away and leave me alone.
I can't watch you partying.
Yeah, I don't want to see you guys. I just want to be by myself. So I think a 6 hour qualifier, it's not even achievement, but I mean, just personally to be able to just mentally toughen up and finish what you started is always something to be proud of.
Yeah. How do you get through those tough moments, Because it's one thing, like you said, if you're doing a 6 hour qualifier with friends, that's a lot different from doing 4 of it by yourself. So how do you get through those tough parts?
I think the beauty of swimming, like what I've said, is you have this ability to just zone out, and you get into this lovely zone where time just ticks away. I remember hitting it in the channel, and my support crew were feeding me what felt like every 2 minutes. I'm like, listen, you're feeding me every 2 minutes. How the hell am I going to finish the swim? Like, just stop feeding me. And they're like, Sam, it's been 30 minutes. So that's such a great space to be in. You don't often hit that space. And if I can't get into that zone, I often think of, I like to think of friends, family, and my dogs. and yeah, just deal with what conditions you're given. Like, to be honest, I don't always like calm, smooth water. I sometimes like to put up a little bit of a fight with some wind and surface chop. And I love swimming in swell. It's just the most exhilarating feeling is swimming in swell. It just takes your mind off maybe if the water's a bit cold or whatever. It's just, you just get this adrenaline rush, and it's such a good feeling swimming in swell. But yeah, I think mentally your head has to be in the game. If your head's not in the game, it's going to be long swimming.
Right. How do you get your head in the game? Is there anything you do ahead of a swim or anything to kind of prepare yourself?
I try visualize sometimes, even in training. If I'm training in, say, a pool, I try visualize swimming in the sea and maybe feeling a bit cold or uncomfortable or being stung or seeing a shadow, and what is that, a shark or sunfish or but yeah, visualization helps me a lot. Trying to imagine different situations. I think adapting. I'm also quite a structured person, so I like structure and a plan. And yeah, I think if I'm super cold in a swim, I would just ask my crew, listen, yeah, I need more feeds or more sugar or more of that. And yeah, just adapt and deal with kind of what you are dealt with, deal with the conditions you're dealt, because they're not going to change. You have to change to adapt to the situation you're in.
Yeah, it's a good way to think of it. I often ask, like how to adapt to changing conditions, but like you said, you have to change. Like the
conditions aren't going to change for you.
Right. Well, yeah, or they will, but either way, you kind of have to be ahead of it. So be adaptable going in, because it's going to change.
Yeah, Ram always tells me, Sam, it's just like swimming through a cold patch. It's going to pass. You just have to get through it.
Yes. Yeah, I love the people with that perspective. They're like, oh, well, when it gets hard, I just know it's going to get better. Like you just swim through it. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. It's hard to remember that in the moment.
It is. You have to remind it yourself, like write it on your hand.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. Write things on my hand next time. You'll get through it. It's just like a cold patch.
Just keep swimming.
Oh man, what have you learned about yourself from marathon swimming?
Oh, I'm stubborn. I'm an overthinker. I'm an overstressor. And I'm probably tougher than what I think I am. And I've learned about nutrition. I've learned that everyone's different and there's not one recipe for everyone. Everyone's different and you've got to go with what works for you. And I've also learned that even the small things you do actually manage to inspire people on a level that you are not aware of. I often do something like completely insignificant to me, and then I'd have a friend say, Sam, because of you, I'm going to do Robben Island, or I'm going to enter this 1 mile race, or I'm going to go for swimming lessons. And I think that's just something I've learned without, previously you just kind of do things and you don't realize the change or the impact you're having on your friends. And I think that's such a rewarding thing. Like someone come to you and say, because of you, I'm gonna go for a lesson, or I'm gonna go for stroke technique, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely an overthinker.
That's the main thing you've learned. How do you manage that? Kind of in the middle of it.
So I think I just pack a lot of stuff. I pack a lot of food. I try control the thought process, like what if this, what if that, and it's all very anxiety ridden until you get in the water, and then it's almost like everything just goes away and you're not anxious or stressed or anything anymore. All you have to do is swim. But yeah, dealing with the overthinking and that pre-race or pre-event nerves it's quite hectic. Some days I completely lose my appetite or can't sleep. So the best thing would actually be to just do some meditation, go for a little run, do a little bit of a cycle, just to take the edge off.
Yeah, that's good. Tell us a little bit about your really cold water swimming. You've alluded to the fact that you don't like cold, but you've done some ice kilometers, right? Tell us about that real quick.
Wow, yeah. My first ice swim I did a couple of years ago, just because people who were swimming with me on a Sunday hot chocolate swim were talking about this ice swim they're doing 3 hours outside Cape Town. And I was like, oh, wow, I should try that. I mean, the water temperature in our sea is like 11 and the ice swim is like under 5. So how bad can that be, right?
How bad could that be?
I mean, it's just freezing, but
right.
And it's only 1 kilometer. So I went and did that, but after the swim, we realized that the temperature was 7 degrees Celsius and an ice swim has to be below 5. So it was all the pain, but none of the glory. So I just felt like, okay, I did this ice swim. It was 7. It's probably my coldest swim to date, but it didn't count. So obviously, you have to go back and finish what you started.
Obviously.
Stubborn Sam. I ended up doing a swim in the mountains of Lesotho. We had our South African ice swimming championships there. It's a landlocked country in South Africa, but it's in the mountains. So the altitude's about 3,300 meters above sea level.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I did the 1K and I survived it. And it was amazing. I think ice swimming takes you to even more remote, even more off the chart locations than marathon swimming. And you also get very hooked onto it, and it's almost like an addiction, because after a while your body starts craving the cold. But I must say, I got out that water, and before I did the swim, Rom said, "You're not going to be able to say your name after this swim." And I'm like, "I'll show you, I'll say my name after the swim." And I did the swim. I got out, and for some reason there were a video crew there from The Great Big Story. Is that CNN? And they were filming this whole event, and they had a mic there, and Ram's like, "What's your name?" And I just said, "I am Sam." I was so frozen. I don't remember the rest of the recovery, but I did it. And yeah, ever since, it's just been, your body is this amazing, amazing machine, and it can do anything you convince your mind to do. And yeah, after Lesotho, I've been back to Lesotho 3 times. I tried to do a mile there last 2 years ago, but the altitude's just too much. I got to 1,200 meters and I pulled myself out. I just realized that I was just not moving anymore, and the pain was just too real. And I didn't want to be in a situation where I swim and I push myself and then I need medical attention, and we 3 hours away from the border and 5 hours away from a hospital. Although we had a doctor and a nurse and medics there, I just didn't feel like that was the right place to do it.
Right.
So I definitely want to do an ice mile. It's definitely on my cards. I mean, I'm friends with Jamie Monaghan, who's done a million ice miles on every continent, and Kate Steele. So these ladies are so inspirational to me. I think it's just all in the mind, to be honest.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear someone who says that, they're shivering in practice and they'll get out, but they're like, "Yep, I'm going to go do an ice kilometer and I want to do an ice mile," right? So it's a little cold. It's short-lived, right?
It's just a little cold. I think it's all the pain of a marathon swim compressed into 1 kilometer.
That's Impressive. Yeah, I could see that because I think Jamie's talked about it too, like how like time kind of slows down. Like I think who was it? I think it was Jamie talking about the elasticity of time. Like in marathon swimming, it can like compress, but like in ice swimming, it can like extend. Isn't that
It
cool?
can extend, and you get the tunnel vision where the other side of the pool looks like miles away.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's easy for me to say I want to do it sometime, but it's hard to think like how I can make that happen in my life. But you never know.
No, never say never.
Exactly.
If you
Exactly.
told me 5, 6 years ago that I'd be doing an ice swim in Antarctica, I'd be like, yeah, whatever.
Right. Oh man. What motivates you to keep going?
The challenge. I think because I'm such a goal-orientated person and structured person, you do something and it's like you want to carry on with this kind of timeline. You don't want to just stop and end up on the couch watching Netflix all day. I mean,
Yeah. And then there was that time that I did all those ice kilometers and marathon
yeah,
swims, and then I just hung up my jacket and said never again,
like,
right?
who does that? I think there's always the next thing. And if you are a motivated person, you're always going to set a goal for yourself and you're going to do everything in your power to make sure it happens. And you're going to train and work and do what you need to do to get there. And I think they go hand in hand. I love training. So because of my anxiety, I feel like I'm a better person when I train. And you also don't want to train for nothing. Like, why are you going to train? Just to burn off some calories and feel better for a few hours? It's like, no, you need a goal. So I think a goal gives structure to your training, and training gives me, health benefits and mental benefits. So yeah, I think that's what keeps me going. Another thing that also keeps me going, and especially these mad swimmer swims and other swims we've done, is the charity and what you're doing it for, the cause. That's a big thing too. I mean, I've done Cape Point a couple of times, and I remember this one Cape Point I did. We just gotten back from the States. I was severely jet lagged. I think I did it on airplane food and maybe 2 or 3 hours sleep. My ankles were still swollen when I started the swim. And I remember rounding the point and it's beautiful. And then after the point, it gets super boring because it's 6 kilometers of just straight swimming to the finish. And I was getting cold and I wanted to get out. And I thought, you know what? We're swimming for children who are orphans and they have daily struggles. They are suffering daily, and I want to get out because I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable. It's like, come on, Sam, toughen the F up and carry on. And I must say that in a swim, it's so much more rewarding swimming for a cause. I definitely learned that from my mad swimmer friends, and it's just, yeah, on the next level rewarding to swim for someone else.
Very cool. Very cool. What advice would you give to an aspiring marathon swimmer?
Just go for it. I mean, you never regret a swim. I mean, worst case scenario, you get out. And I think just join a club, network, get in touch with people who can give you some advice and you have the patience to take you through your first swims, and just see what your body's capable of. I mean, you will surprise yourself, definitely.
That's good advice. Who's inspired you?
Wow, so many people. I'm fortunate enough to have met a lot of inspiring people, locally and internationally. I would definitely have to say that Jamie Monaghan is on that list of people who inspire me. Sarah Thomas, oh my word. Chloe McCardle, Catherine Breed, she's such a champ. But also my friends who I train with daily. Karina Briver, I'm not sure if you've had an interview with her. She's an amazing swimmer. And then also the people closest to me, Kyron Polferman and Ram Balkai. These people are all very inspirational people. I mean, Kyron, just the way he does these swims, so low key, doesn't brag about it, just does it and gets on with it because it matters to him, and he doesn't care about the fame or the social media. And I think that's very, very inspiring.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. Do you want to take Marathon Swim Stories with you? Subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. Want to connect with like-minded limit pushers? Join us for Marathon Swim Stories Live on Tuesdays at 5:30 a.m. Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, 13:30 GMT. Thanks for watching.